Continuing with advanced querying on our Hot Chocolate GraphQL server, so far we've implemented pagination, we've implemented filtering. Next up, I want to tackle sorting. So ideally, when I make a query to my GraphQL server, I want to pass in some kind of field name, and I want my collection of results to be sorted by that field name. So as we can see on our query, we have pagination and we have filtering on this course's query. Next up, like I said, I want to add sorting. So this is going to be pretty similar to filtering. So we're actually going to head back up into our startup.cs and we're going to configure our GraphQL server a little bit. So for filtering, we call this add filtering method to set up all the required dependencies for filtering. For sorting, all we have to do is add, you guessed it, sorting. So let's go ahead and do that. And we should be good to go. We can now sort. So back to our query, let's specify a use sorting attribute, and it's really that easy. So let's go ahead and just run this, and we're doing this on our query that takes in a DB context as a parameter. So that means this sorting is going to get applied directly to our database query, and I'll try and show that off when we make this query. So let's see, this is our paginated courses query. So with this query, we have this first parameter, so we're only taking the first 3 courses. And then to demonstrate our filtering, we have this where parameter as well. So let's see with sorting. Actually, let me refresh the schema real quick. And for sorting, we have this order parameter. So let's open that up. Let's see what we can do. And then we just specify the field that we want to order by. So let's order by name. I feel like that'll be easy to see. And we want to order, let's do ascending. And actually, while I'm here, I'm going to get rid of this where filter so we can just get back all of our courses. And on that note, I'll get rid of this first 3. Let's just get back all of them. So let's run this. And here we go. We got our courses. So looking at the names, we got algorithms first. Makes sense. It starts with an A, then chemistry, geometry, geometry again. So they are definitely sorted. I don't know why I have so many geometries in here, but they're definitely sorted by their name. So let's change this to descending, make sure that works, and we should see all those geometries first, which we do, and algorithms last. So sorting looks good, and let's look at our database query, and let's see, where is the sorting happening? So I am logging the SQL that we're executing, so if I can find that somewhere. Here we go. We're querying for courses. And we have this order by right here, and we're ordering by the name. I guess this was for the descending query, and the ascending one's probably somewhere up here. And yep, here we go. So this sorting is getting applied directly to our database. That's great for performance. We don't have to pull them all into our application, then sort them. So I like that. But let's say you're not directly using your DB context like we are here, and maybe you're using a repository like I have in this other query, then that's perfectly fine. We can move our sorting attribute up here as well, and sorting will still work. So let's see, before we were making this paginated courses query, but let me see, do I have a regular courses query in here somewhere? I do, okay. So let me refresh this, I guess. So let me get rid of this where filter, and we're going to order these courses that we get back. And let's order by, I guess, name again. I feel like that's easy to demonstrate. And we'll do ascending. And let me put a breakpoint in my resolver before we run this. So here we go. We're going to hit our repository, get our courses back, and let's look at these. And trying to demonstrate this, but it looks like the courses we get back from our database are actually already ordered. So let me try this again. Let's actually do descending, and we should be able to demonstrate what I was trying to show off. So make our database query. We look at our course DTOs. So this is what we get back from the database. And as you can see, these are ordered in ascending order by name. So algorithms is first. So since we have this sorting attribute, when these courses get returned, we are going to see them sorted in our results. So let's see. And there we go. So geometry is first because we're sorting name descending. So just to summarize that real quick, the main differences between these queries is that this one isn't directly using our DB context and returning an IQueryable, which means our sorting is going to be done after we make the database query. Whereas, since for this one, we're using our DB context directly, we return an IQueryable and we're using sorting, then that means the sorting is going to be applied directly to the database query. And actually, that last run, I didn't bring up the SQL that we were logging, but as you can see, we were querying for courses and we didn't have that order by statement like we had for the query that returns an IQueryable and uses our DB context. So that's the main difference there. So that being said, I'm actually only going to apply these attributes on my query that uses the DB context and does everything directly against the database. And one thing I didn't mention is that the order of these attributes does matter. So in my last video, I did mention that paging has to come before filtering, but in this case, ordering matters again, and use sorting has to come after filtering and paging, and of course, DB context as well. So what we've done so far should cover most use cases, just using the sorting attribute and then adding sorting when you configure your GraphQL server. But I do want to dig into a little bit more with customization. So for example, and we did this with filtering, but I want to demo it for sorting as well because it's a little bit different. So looking at these order by options, let's see. We also have this ID and instructor ID, but I feel like that's a weird thing to sort by. I feel like that's a little bit unnecessary. So let's say we want to customize this sorting a little bit and just ignore those fields. So to do that, what we're going to do is similar to what we did for filtering. So I have this filters folder. Let's add another folder, and I guess we'll call this sorters, if that makes sense. And inside here, we're going to add a class. We'll call this the course sort type. So what we're doing here is defining a custom type that's going to hold our sorting configuration. And this is going to be specifically for our courses. So to do that, we are going to have to inherit from sort input type. And this is already super similar to what we did for our custom filter type, where here we inherited from filter input type. So continuing that, we can specify the type that we're sorting. That's going to be our course type. So that's the type that we actually return from our query. So import that, and let's override configure. And for this configure method, we get this descriptor passed in, so we can use that to configure our sorting. So all kinds of options here, but what we wanted to do was ignore the course ID. So we can take our course and select the ID property. And then I think we also want to ignore instructor ID. I feel like that's unnecessary. And then with this descriptor, there's all kinds of other things you can do. So you can rename fields. I don't know if that's really a good idea because I feel like that could be confusing when you're selecting what field you want it ordered by. But we can just demo it anyways. So let's rename the name field and let's call it course name. I hate that. I'm definitely going to delete this, but I do just want to demo it. So now we have our course sort type. So we can just use this configuration in our query. And to do that, we can open up use sorting. This takes, let me show this. This takes a sorting type. So that's what we just defined. So we can do type of our course sort type that we just created. And as you can see, this is pretty much the same thing that we did for use filtering. So let's go ahead and run this, and probably need to refresh the schema. And as you can see, we get this error because we renamed name and we renamed it to course name. It's a great idea. And then if I look in IntelliSense here as well, we no longer have ID or instructor ID because we have ignored those. So let's go ahead and run this query. And we should be sorted by name descending, which we still are. So that still works. We ignored the fields that we don't want to offer, which wouldn't be a big deal if we did offer those. Just want to demo the more advanced customization. And then we renamed this field, which I don't like. Let me go ahead and just get rid of that. And then, oh, one other thing I did want to demonstrate was you can sort by multiple fields. So let me make this name again. Probably need to refresh my schema. And then let's also sort by subject and then ascending. I don't know if our data is going to be good enough to really be able to see this. And definitely not, because all of these are mathematics. So not going to be able to see the sorting. Let me fix this data. We can actually run some of these mutations. So let's make chemistry a science. So there we go. That's good. And then let's grab one of these geometries and make one of those like a history or something. So change that. So this was geometry and we're going to make it history now. Let's do that. And now we should be able to actually see this. So name descending, subject ascending. So we got our geometries first. That means the name descending is working. And then subject ascending. So we should get history down here. That's good. And actually the reason that might seem confusing, so you might think history would come before mathematics because alphabetically that would make sense. But subject is actually an enum. So if we look at that enum value, let's see if I can find that real quick. We actually defined history after mathematics. So as you can see, it has a higher value. So that's why the sorting actually puts it after mathematics. But if we changed subject to descending, then we should see history first. So there we go. So that's definitely working. We are sorting by 2 fields successfully. So that should cover everything with sorting. All we did was add sorting to our GraphQL server, and then we used the sorting attribute on our queries. I went into the difference between using this on an IQueryable that uses our DB context versus an IEnumerable, which doesn't use our DB context directly. And then just to take things a little bit further, I demoed how you can add a little bit of customization to your sorting, such as ignoring fields or for some reason renaming fields. So hopefully you can apply sorting to your own GraphQL server with Hot Chocolate. And if you have any questions, criticisms, or concerns, be sure to leave those below in the comment section. If you enjoyed the video or are enjoying the channel, consider becoming a member. Other than that, leave a like or subscribe for more. Thank you.